this is Kelly Beard of KarmicTools.com, and this is a special lunar update to supplement my podcast. Many of you know I pay for that distribution, and my minutes don't roll over. I wish they did, because some months, as you know, I have more to say than others, and it would all balance out in the end, but that's not the way the world works. So it's use it or lose it around here, and Spirit said go ahead and give you this lunar update, because we're coming up on what I call the lunar flip. So even though the weekly forecast will give you the breakdown of each full or new moon, I probably didn't off-road as much into what's going on energetically for our spring summertime. But let's start with what the lunar flip is. Basically, for about 18 months, we have been living through the experience of the full moon preceding the new moon, which has facilitated quite a few endings. So if you do some reflection and you look at what got activated over the last 18 months, what got initiated and what got completed, how much clearing did you have to do in order to start anything new? What happened when you tried to start things new? Were you pushed back to tie up loose ends in some kind of way? It can happen. But this is something that's a rhythm thing, and that is unique to each individual and your moon signs and your own natural rhythms. So I encourage you to feel into it. Personally, I prefer the full moon preceding the new moon because it allows me to clean and clear and release and then plant seeds and walk by faith. I'm good to go after that. I don't think about those seeds. If they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. And I go on with things. But now, come Cancer Capricorn lunation, which is next month, the order is going to flip, and we're going to have the new moon preceding the full moon, which means we're going forward into many new beginnings. These new beginnings are going to be based on how much you've cleared out around what you are and are not responsible for. Okay? We're going to have a double dose of Capricorn full moon. The first one comes on solstice, so that's a huge energetic party. Right at that 0-1 degree of Cancer Capricorn for the full moon. They'll be opposite each other. What occurred to me is that not everyone, but almost everyone, is likely to have 1 Capricorn and 29 Capricorn in 2 different houses. So I am inclined to look at the first full moon release work on solstice as having to release in a certain area. So I'm going to use myself as an example. Capricorn rules my second, but it starts in my first. So that 1 degree is in the first house for me and any other Sag risings most likely. And that 29 degrees is in my second house. So this double dose of release is happening in 2 houses, which is 2 different areas of life. Back to back, related, connected, but still distinctly 2 different kinds of release work we'll be doing with these 2 Capricorn full moons. The idea behind any full moon is to do the release work in order for those new moon seeds to pop. So essentially, we have had to do a lot of clearing over the last 18 months. Let go, let go, let go, and then try to start something new, see what happened, walk by faith. Like I said, that's what happens with the new moon. It's the dark of moon. Seeds germinate in the darkness. It's a void. It's a conception moment. It's not really when the seeds pop. If you've gotten your lunar training, the action moments for us working in these metaphysical realms is the first quarter, actually is when we're supposed to take the first step. New moon intentions or power wishes or whatever you call it is a conception moment when you're conceiving what you want to do next. And in this case, Cancer Capricorn is totally our fundamentals. So using the Gemini Sag lunation, I'm recording and posting this on the 23rd, which is the Sag full moon, where we are totally supported to release and clear out the old truth, story, and belief systems so that we can raise and expand our consciousness and magnetize new options, opportunities, and networks going forward. That's our Gemini new moon conceptions. It's something to do with options, opportunities, and new networks, new friends, new connections, new partnerships, or, new things to do. We think twins, you might have to branch out and expand your world in some kind of way. But in order to do that, we really need to shift our consciousness. So the line that's coming to mind is something to the effect of people cannot create a world that they cannot envision. I'm sure I'm paraphrasing that quote and I can't remember who said it. But if you can't even visualize it, which is what any Sag moon is good for, is raising your consciousness and looking for a higher vision, whether it's full or new. In this case, we're clearing out the old consciousness that doesn't believe in what's possible for you right now. And the new energy that we've activated in Gemini over recent years, gotta say, has already been preparing you for a new level of exchange with others. We've already been prepared on this whole communications, technology, AI nonsense. Now it's real, y'all. It's here. We've been talking about it, it's here, it's happening. So how much of that do you need, desire, or deserve to deal with in your day-to-day? And how much kind of blows your circuits? The other thing I want to think about before we get to the Cancer Capricorn lunation with this Gemini Sag lunation is, what have I told you all? I'm trying to get everyone trained up for the rhythm. At the turn of the season, which is what's coming, summer solstice is next, the month before is right now, Gemini Sag time, when we do our processing and integration. So right now, we are processing all that we've learned and all the information we've picked up along the way in the last 6 months to a year. We are processing our own consciousness and thinking and how it got us here. You know, sometimes we're misled by our own monkey mind. And you catch yourself 6 months or a year later and go, oh my God, I was not thinking straight. So let's think about what we're processing at this time that is leading to choices and decisions during the Cancer Capricorn lunation. Once we make those choices and decisions over the following month and lunation, we're going to have that lunar flip. I'm going to talk some more about that in a second. But based on the processing we do now, choices will have to be made. You're either going to be initiating something or letting something go that no longer fits in your story, essentially. As you do that and make those choices and decisions, then the month after is the Leo Aquarius lunation. And that's really going to bring it all together with your unique contribution and your authentic self and what light you want to shine to the world. But again, choices and decisions made at Cancer Capricorn lunation are going to have to be either anchored or released permanently in the Leo Aquarius lunation. So here we are doing our processing, choose, anchor, rhythm over the next 3 months. So this audio and video can probably support you for this 3 months so that you can remember what you're doing and why you're doing it, because this is what the energies support. If we can shift our consciousness and release the old story, which is no longer true anyway, if we can rise, or let's say raise our consciousness to a new level, then we can attract new people and new circumstances and new situations and new opportunities and additional options and choices. Some people don't like that. Some people like to be told what to do. They don't like to have options and choices. And so this Gemini energy is a little crazy making for some, but it doesn't have to be. The idea is to do your mental body upgrade and to reset things with your ideas, thoughts, and concepts. So what are you creating and what are you expressing? That's what Mercury ruled Gemini is all about. It's communicating and expressing who you are, what you want, you know, your lesson to learn, lessons to teach, whatever it is that you're up to. This is the student teacher realm where we go into learning and processing. Like I said, what have you learned in the last 6 months to a year? Okay. And then as we go to the Cancer Capricorn lunation, the fundamentals get activated: home and work, self versus other. So because your consciousness is shifted, because the story you want to tell is shifting and you're trying to seed a new one, now you're going to have to change some things within the individual, within the context of your relationships, and you're going to have to shift things with your rhythms at home and work. How much self-care and replenishment do you do, and how much service to others do you do in the world? So recognizing that the better you shift your consciousness, the better you clear out that old narrative that's no longer true, then the better choices and decisions you're going to make for your fundamental everyday things, which is what Cancer Capricorn rules, that home and work specifically, you know, how you take care of yourself at home and how you provide for yourself through some kind of vocation. All of that is tied up with our fundamental needs. As that gets activated, and we have summer solstice, which is the 6-month mark from our winter solstice initiation, again with the conception, what were you conceiving? what was bubbling at winter solstice that started to awaken at the Aquarius gate, that started to come to life and be, start to, okay, this is getting real. We're going to have something to deal with in a minute. A little life is coming by spring equinox. And then you knew for sure by the May gate, that was the Taurus gate of power, of what is really starting to blossom and what is showing promise, what is showing vitality in life. Once we get to this midpoint, the light is going to start fading, right? We're moving toward maximum light. So we want to use all that energy and direct it consciously on our own behalf. So think about what kind of path you've walked for the last 6 months and what kind of path you'd like to walk for the next 6 months, okay? Because the clearing, releasing work that this spring and summer is doing for us is repositioning us by the end of the year to literally walk into a new narrative, to start telling a whole new story in a whole new way with all new cohorts and collaborators and expanded networks that grow exponentially. However, if your base, if your foundation, if your fundamentals aren't in order, if you're not healthy, if you're not generally having things in order, then that's going to get chaotic and that's going to get a little nutty and hard to navigate. Also, the following lunation, Leo Aquarius, always brings up the self-love, self-worth issues. So again, the better you're processing, the better your choices, the more rooted and strong and anchored that self-love and self-worth will be when you go to play with others, when you go to work with others, when you go to love with others. You'll be more authentic and you'll be shining a light that is from your heart center out. So with the lunar rhythm we've been going through, like I said, we've really had to complete things before we could initiate clean. So I'd be curious how many easy clean starts you had and how many times you had to have a do-over. But with the rhythm shifting to new moon preceding the full moon, what's going to happen is now we are going to be pushed to these new beginnings and having to try things and take steps and initiate and see what happens. Can't promise success, but you conceive the vision, you plant the seeds, you tend the soil, you do what you have to do to give it every chance of success. And then you have to let go and let God and let spirit breathe some life into it and magnetize the rest of the support. That, like I said, part of me giving you the heads up is so that you think about your preference. It doesn't change anything. The rhythm still flips every 18 months, and that's the rhythm. But knowing your preference can help you on the back end. For example, for me, since I do prefer full moon preceding the new moon, now I know I got to work a little harder. I got to be a little more conscious. I got to pay a little more attention to details and things, because the cleaner and more clear, I should say, I am about conceiving those new visions on every new moon, then the less I will have to clean up when the full moon shines a light in a corner I just missed, didn't see, couldn't plan for, whatever. That's what I've experienced. That's what I've tracked in how it manifests for me. But like I said, it's very unique to your rhythm, to your moon sign, to your north node sign, to how you work with the lunar rhythms in general, and how you like the numbers of 9 and 18. And all of that has to do with various cycles of completion. So either way, we have now completed a little 18-month rhythm that is also shifting. So better to do that consciously, right? And in this case, resetting our ideas and thinking going forward with the Gemini new moon so that we can seed quality, nourishment, safety, protection, resources, things that create stability. And then getting creative, being able to shine your light and play and be with your friends and do something fun for a change and not be all about work, 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 work. So that's when we get real into summertime, right? At least in this hemisphere. So ultimately, feel into what's your preference. Do you like just getting things going and see what happens? There's an Aries part of me that loves that. Let's just try it, see what happens. But for a constant rhythm, day in and day out, I don't know. I think I struggle with that one. I like to clean up, reset, and walk away and let God do the rest. That's my preference. So just think about how you like to do things and know what time it is in the season, in the lunar rhythm, and what have you. The other thing I would say is if you want details, definitely go to the weekly forecast. That's got the Sag full moon and the full write-up on Jupiter entering Gemini, May 25th. I'm talking to you on the 23rd, so in 2 days, Jupiter enters Gemini until June 9th of 2025. This is a huge additional energy to be happening around our Gemini Sag lunation. All I'm saying is that's once in 12 years for Jupiter to arrive there. And the full moon itself is at 2 degrees, so we're pretty close in them low degrees on this end. But it's a powerful shift. Again, it's going to be expanding things in the information technology, AI realm in ways we can't even predict. Certainly I can't. Y'all know I'm a dinosaur, okay? I ain't even gonna lie. I am an analog girl in a digital world for sure. But I do my best to keep in touch with you. And I'm grateful for those of you who put up with my slower pace. But Gemini is going to speed it up. And wherever it lands in your chart, mine is 7th house. So I think my partnerships and collaborations are about to expand. Once in 12 years, it absolutely did. 12 years ago, I was kicking it with my Shamanic Astrology mystery school family. They've all evolved and gone to new levels and created a formal school and everything. So everyone's at a new level from 12 years ago. Where were you in 2012, 13? And what was happening with your consciousness? What were you learning? What kind of classes were you taking? What kind of people were you hanging with? What kind of collaborations were you doing? And what's run its course and what feels like new life can be breathed into it, especially because it happens in that same house, right? So wherever Jupiter's expanding, it just came out of Taurus. Now it's moving through Gemini, and the next one will be Cancer. 1 year in a sign, 12 years to make it through. So you've heard me talk about the Jupiter cycles, a 12-year cycle that moves in 3-year increments. So we learn something new every year that Jupiter moves through a sign. But you stack 3 years of learning, and now your consciousness shifts. What you believe to be true or possible shifts. Your story shifts. The people you're interacting with shifts. It's an evolution, and it's a rhythm that you can tap into. And people with strong Sag energy or a powerfully placed Jupiter should definitely pay attention to this. Also, by default, because it's initiating in Gemini zone, that means we have to integrate and balance out something in our Sag zone. So what happens? Now that I want to do more collaborations in the 7th house, this will apply to any Sag rising person, I got to change some things personally as an individual in order to keep up with the partnerships I'm manifesting or expanding or taking to the next level, which is definitely happening. It's happening with me and Yeye. It's happening with me and several people who want to collaborate. And you should pay attention to where you're initiating in Gemini. You're going to have to integrate and balance things out in Sag, which automatically forces your Virgo Pisces to grow and shift and change. For me, Virgo Pisces would end up being home and work. So again, with those rhythms getting activated big time. It's always time to tell a new story when Jupiter moves into a new sign, but oh my God, with Gemini, it can't be helped. You're going to tell a new story whether you want to or not. So at least try to be conscious about it and direct it the way you would like it to go and stay in tune with that positive vision. Don't get bogged down with depression or apathy or negativity, because whatever you think really will manifest right now. We are very powerful creators at the moment, and the planets are supporting it 8 ways to Sunday. So definitely the more clear and conscious you can be, the better off you'll be. Now, the shadow of Jupiter in Gemini is a tendency toward restlessness and a desire for constant movement, change, and stimulation. So we know folks like that. They're very manic, they're crazy, they're all over the place, and they can't commit to a long-term anything. So this is going to be challenging for folks to focus on one particular subject or project for an extended period anyway. You know, a one and done, a quickie, no problem. We're going to be good at those. And I recommend them. Actually, they could be more fulfilling and satisfying. I think about that with Yeye, because we did a one-off with a ritual for Oshun on a 12/12 full moon, and we had the most magical night. And this last ritual for the children blew the doors off. I mean, we really went to a new level of community ritual, let's say. So when you have something, even if it is just a one-off, or maybe that's the idea behind Jupiter expanding and giving us a shot at different things and trying things until you see what really can be the big thing, right? You know, we're going to try a bunch of little things because it's in Gemini to choose the big thing that Jupiter will expand and take to the next level. I like that. But watch that restlessness and that desire to just change for the sake of change. Okay, some people just like to shake things up to see what happens. And what I think it's going to be best for really is taking little classes, certifications, taking whatever you already know that you are the expert at and learning something that makes you a little more valuable in that field. So, for example, I'm going to take my thing deeper with cycles and patterns because I really want to do this astro activism class with Yeye. So I have to take point on that because it's astro, and I'm happy to, and I'm excited to, but that's a whole new level. And I have a feeling this is the year where we get the prototype in place that we will probably go forward and repeat this class like we've done others that have been really successful. So there may be something there for you to expand. Meantime, like I said, I'm talking to you on this Sag full moon. You got to clear out any consciousness that blocks that flow, that doesn't believe in the vision and doesn't stay positive. Got to let that go. And you indecisive types that can't make up your mind, this is going to make it harder because, like I said, new choices and options are going to be available. Bigger choices, bigger options. So you're going to have to really know yourself and love yourself and know your self-worth to make the best choices for yourself as these bigger opportunities are presented in whatever Gemini house you got, right? Wherever Gemini is for you. But it's excellent for all things writing and publishing and communicating and expressing. Like there's going to be plenty to talk about. In fact, I just sent Cinnamon a text about a sex class that she could teach. So stay tuned for those of you who want to go deeper with your sexuality and sensuality. We've been stirring up some trouble in the Venus circle that is going to have another outlet to go to a new level because we've sort of gotten the beginner level out of the way. So those of you who are good communicators are going to get even better. And those of you who maybe struggle with communication are going to be much more expressive than usual, thanks to Jupiter being there. But one of my things just came up recently. Somebody's feeling alone wherever they are. When I was in Florida, it was like that. I'm a social creature. I make friends everywhere. I lived in DC, New York, and Chicago. I got people. I got family all over this country. Florida, I made 2 friends. I just never met any humans that liked me or that I liked. So I ended up just getting to know mad bayou swamp nature. It was amazing. The gators, I didn't know how deep Olokun went, but they love me. They have their babies around me. They were amazing. All the birds, the turtles, all the creatures loved me, but the humans, not so much. So when I was there, that's really when it was because we moved there in 2005, and 2007 is when my community really expanded and blew up. I did Hay House Radio with John Holland, and everything took off from there. So I decided to create my online community because I didn't have any people on the ground, and it worked. So that's what this year is going to be good for, creating small groups of like-minded souls and hearts that want to get together on something. More classes and workshops and seminars, like I said. Do some creative writing, write in your journal. I've heard a few horror stories of trauma associated with journaling, y'all. Let's heal that this year and find a new way to express your soul self safely. For people like me who have been writing forever and ever, it's time to publish. Yes, I publish the forecast, but that's different. I mean like a book or an oracle or something like that. I have some creative projects in the pipeline that desperately need some attention that I'm hoping this Jupiter will assist in manifesting and making real once and for all. These things have been bubbling since 12 years ago when I started going deeper with cycles and patterns. Like I said, it's been an interesting path for the last 3, 6, 9, and 12 years. So you might want to look at those pivot points, which would have been 2012, 2015, 2018, 2021. These would have all been high processing years because Jupiter was expanding the mutable signs of Gemini, Sag, and Virgo, Pisces. So again, with years where we have waves of information flowing into our systems, physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional systems. And we need ways of nourishing and down-regulating the nervous system and taking care of ourselves during those times. Because if we don't do our processing, then we're not going to make good choices. And if we don't make good choices, then we're not going to be anchoring good stuff. So this is what we're tapping into The energies I'm alerting you to are just so you can be aware and tap in when and where you can. No pressure, no right or wrong, good or bad. Just do what you can to clear the old narrative and step into a new one of your own choosing, of your own writing, of your own making. And then once we get to the Gemini new moon, which is falling on June 6th, that's when we see those radically new ways of thinking, learning, and expressing. That's what a Gemini new moon is good for. The support around the Gemini new moon is still Jupiter. Now that Jupiter has moved into Gemini, Pluto's in Aquarius, that's 2 air signs, that's a trine, that's ease and grace. It is so powerful. This means that transformation of consciousness that we all need can happen with ease and grace instead of tragedy that usually comes with death, rebirth, and transformation of Pluto, right? So let's be mindful that that's another ridiculous alignment. First of all, Jupiter hasn't been there in 12 years, and Pluto hasn't been there in 250 years. So doing it this way is definitely, let's say, part of the era, the Aquarian age that we're walking into. This is part and parcel of the bigger social collective cycle that got kicked off when Jupiter and Saturn just met up in Aquarius a couple of years ago. Every 20 years, let's say, Jupiter and Saturn get together and activate a social cycle of a 20-year cycle. For the last 200 years, up to 2020, with only one little dip, I think, in 1980, the meetup would happen in Earth signs. So for the last 200 years, our social agreement of where the value, the truth, and purpose was is in digging up in mama. We know we can't do that forever. So the values that we agreed to had to do much more with materialism, physicality, and very, very literal, okay? Now, since it kicked off in Aquarius, every 20 years, they're going to get together in air signs. So now the agreement on the truth and purpose and where the value is in your ideas, your consciousness. It's an air sign. It's not going to be super tangible. So that's where Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and all these crazy invisible world is trying to take over our social levels. Now, I'm a holdout, y'all. I already said at the earlier part of this audio, I'm a dinosaur. There is no putting AI in my system. They're not compatible. Okay, this is Android and iPhone. It ain't gonna work. So I'm getting a kick out of watching and tracking for my writing and the cycles, because I am doing a big generational project, and seeing how the generations really come to life and manifest and walk through and create change in our world as humans. It's a big deal. But this is the new agreement that your consciousness is your wealth. Pluto rules the wealth, Jupiter rules the consciousness. And these air signs mean it's ideas, thoughts, and concepts that are going to be of value to the social level systems. So let's set up the systems that work for you. That's all I can say. Like for me, I got one toe in and one toe out because I can't do it all the way. That works for my system. But there are others that are extreme all or nothing. They're either off the grid and not having no parts of this, or they're all in. AI can write it all for me and think it all for me and do it all for me, and I don't want to think and I don't want to be a human. But to me, they're canceling out the humanity part, the body part, the physical part. So again, we can't be extreme. Let's think about how we navigate our own lives, because we can't control that big 2,500 year era, like I said, that we're stepping into. We happen to be alive and kicking and watching the end of an era and the birth of an era. We are living on the cusp, okay? So that's never easy. And for whatever reason, we chose to be part of the root that goes into the future of humanity, the next 7 generations. We are the ancestors of the future. Yay is constantly pounding that into us. And the better we can think and conceive this new level of consciousness here and now, then the better off those next 7 generations will be. I think there should be a healthy balance. I don't mind modern things, but I don't believe in violating or ignoring the body. And that's what happens in this virtual reality that folks are slipping into. Their bodies are dying and disintegrating as they go up in their brains and live in a virtual world. It's, to me, not natural for Earth. This is the only planet we need this meat suit for. So why would you want out of it? And so that's the part I don't get. Again, I got too much Virgo. I live with a Taurus, and I birthed the 6 planets in Capricorn. So we all got too much Earth in this house. And we love mama, and we love the natural ways that are possible. So whatever it takes, like learning, that's what I'm going to learn too. I'm going to learn how to do more foraging here in Colorado and being more sustainable so that my footprint is less, right? That's a big deal to me. So I'm making the changes. I've been making the changes, but every year I change something else and I go deeper and deeper. I let go of something else, some other convenience that, yeah, that would be nice, but not at the cost of mama. That's not how that works. I'm not down with that. So shift your consciousness this year. Use this Gemini Sag lunation to start privately and personally and individually, and recognize that all this Jupiter juju around it, now moving to that new moon with Pluto there, you can manifest, birth, conceive whatever you like. Let's see what I wrote about it, because this one isn't posted anywhere. The Sag full moon and the Jupiter entering Gemini is already up and out in the weekly forecast. And tomorrow, next week's will go up. But Jupiter trine Pluto goes like this. This is part of a potent 12-year process, which is a Jupiter cycle, as it relates to Pluto's purifying and transformative power. This activation can assist you with a lot of the energy work that you've been able to do over the last 3+ years in terms of clearing karmic and emotional debris and making meaning out of your experiences. This is a delicious opportunity to take your truth, story, and belief system to the next level in a way that both expands your world as well as those whose lives you touch along the way. So like I said, this is June 2nd activation, right before the June 6th Gemini new moon. And by the way, 3 days before, the day of, and 3 days after any new or full moon is your zone of power to be working in. However, the 3 days before the new moon and the 3 days before the full moon is the building of power. That's the most powerful, juicy zone. So this is pretty good to have right there. It is primarily social and collective, but if you have the signs, Gemini and Aquarius, involved, activated in your own chart, that's when it gets personal, and you can use the extra juju to transform your own life. The primary caveat that comes with this is to deeply and honestly scrutinize your deeper, true motivations for wanting to improve or change your life at this time. Are they based in fear and running away from something, or freedom and running towards something? This is a time when you should be focused on that which serves you and benefits others in clean, positive ways. If you are being manipulative, sneaky, or underhanded in any of your choices or actions, even if you profit immediately, you will eventually pay the price on the back end. It's time to think higher and bigger, not the time to be petty, small, or narrow-minded. If you operate from a place of integrity, you can make leaps and bounds of progress in terms of expanding your world, your personal story, and the positive influence on life that you have by just being you. Deep breath. This combo also greatly supports cleaning up past mistakes, advancing your career, expanding your reach, increasing your resources, and facilitating overall course corrections so that your life can run more smoothly due to that trine aspect. However, naturally, consciousness and genuine effort will also be required, but the work is well worth the ultimate reward when these two dance together in the ethers. Oh, this is so good, y'all. So this new moon, we're doing a lot of transformation and release and clearing and purging of consciousness, again, what we believe, so that we can anchor a new source of nourishment, a new source of safety and protection with the Cancer lunation, new moon, right? And then that double dose of Capricorn release means clearing out that which you're no longer responsible for, that which you no longer want to be part of your reality. This is where we tap into the wisdom of the grandmothers, wisdom of the elders, the ancestors, your Orisha, angels, animal spirit guides, your feminine side of how you contain, nurture, and protect your life, your values, your beliefs, all of that is getting a new home base, let's say. And if we can do that and make some choices around those fundamentals, then we can go forward in that Leo Aquarius lunation and really just be happy and be ourselves and be around people who love us. You know, that's what we're headed toward. When we get to the work part and what we got to do to really take care of our systems will be the Virgo lunation. So it keeps going. But right now, I had some bonus minutes, so I thought I would give you a little heads up that this lunation is deeply, deeply pivotal for the year and for the next 9 and 18 years and all that. In fact, I guess I would be remiss if I didn't talk about eclipses on a lunar update. But this year is Aries Libra eclipses, and by the end of the year, we start slipping into the Pisces Virgo, and there's some crossover. So just know that as you shift who you are and what you want, for yourself and for your relationships and partnerships, is shifting and changing and rearranging. And that will go forward to Virgo Pisces when we can recalibrate our boundaries and our systems for living. So that's what's up this whole year. Like for an overall theme, it's you changing your identity and purpose, which is going to automatically have to shift your routines to support the new identity and purpose. You can't roll like you used to roll with a new story to tell. So let's use the energies for what they're good for. Check in with the weekly forecast along the way for details and reminders. Before I let you go, the main events that we'll do over this little season would be the summer solstice fire ceremony. Buffalo, wolf, and bear are our animal medicine for these months. I am going to do a free call for the community on June 6th. That new moon in Gemini, I'm going to talk about the Jupiter in Gemini cycle and go deep into just that as a topic. Of course, the Venus circle, Soul Sister circle are ongoing. July is going to be Neptune in Aries. Oh my God, that's another huge shift. Neptune takes 165 years to get around. So those are the two free calls for June and July. We already did May, which was Venus midpoint. So for those of you still looking to get your Venus reading and custom guide to get you through the next 10 months, that would be amazing. Join us, please. And Yaya and I are doing elements in this spring. I'm not sure if we're going to do something in the summer, but I'm doing Astro 101 on Tuesday evenings through July, August. So those of you who want to learn about astrology through your own blueprint, join us there to learn the Kelly way of cycles and patterns and looking at astrology, which I promise you is found in no books. So join us when and where you can. Reach out when you need to. This is Kelly Beard of Karmic Tools signing off.